KGUN 9 on your side, live at 5, starts right now.
An historic day in Arizona, tens of thousands of people in red at the state capitol. Today is the first day of the teacher walkout. Because of that, dozens of districts closed, hundreds of thousands of students forced to stay home from school. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pat Paris.
And I'm Stella Inger. Let's begin with why teachers voted to walk out today. They want to restore education funds with higher teacher pay and increase funds for things like support staff and classroom supplies.
Governor Doug Ducey did come up with a proposal, a 20% net increase for teacher salaries by the year 2020, but teachers say that's not enough.
They believe it doesn't address any demand other than higher teacher pay. Some analysts say Ducey's plan doesn't add up, and it's based on assumption of Arizona's economy and that it will grow. But Ducey's office stands by the plan and says it will work.
Now, a lot of teachers in Tucson made their way up to Phoenix for today's walkout. We have team coverage tonight. Now on your side's Carlos Herrera is there standing by in Phoenix. He's going to talk about the hot temperatures today. We'll check in with him in just a moment.
Yeah, he's been there all day long covering this historic event along with 9 Your Side's Kevin Boughton. Teachers, parents, students, and community members marched from Chase Field to the state capitol building. Look at all of those people. Officials say there were about 60 to 75,000 people to support educators. Let's go ahead and go to Kevin Boughton at the state capitol. Kevin, this was unprecedented.
Yeah, Pat and Stella, it really was. It was an incredible sight here at about 1 o'clock when this rally was at its height. This entire area in front of the state capitol was packed with people shoulder to shoulder wearing red. It was hard to hear, harder to move around, and impossible to ignore their message. A massive wave of red came crashing onto the state capitol today.
I love it. I love it. I've always liked the color red, and hey, now it's time to show it.
Educators pouring in from across Arizona to send a message.
We need to do better. We need to do better right now. And that is powerful. And that's what a democracy looks like. And that's why we're in this position right now, which is a position of power and a position to bring change to this state.
What's the plan, Ducey? What's the plan?
Some estimates put the crowd at more than 60,000. These photos from the city of Phoenix show the march from Chase Field to the Capitol. Lizzie Menifee left Rio Rico before dawn to be part of this. What is it like to miss school today?
It's hard. We miss the kids. We miss our parents. We know they count on us, but it gets to a point that it's just getting so hard.
This group isn't satisfied with the governor's proposal to phase in a 20% raise for teachers by the year 2020. They say it doesn't have a guaranteed funding source, leaves out support staff, and teachers also want funding levels restored to what they were before the recession.
It's 10 years of neglect. We understood in 2008 that we were going to have to weather some cuts and everybody was going to have to tighten their belts because we went into a recession. But we've not seen that money come back to our schools.
Teachers hopeful that 2 days of striking will force lawmakers and the governor to give in to at least some of their demands.
We are in the midst of an education revolution.
And those organizers hope people will come out again tomorrow at about 10 o'clock in the morning for a similar rally. Live at the state capitol in Phoenix, Kevin Boughton, KGUN 9 on your side.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much. Meanwhile, districts are now looking ahead. What if the walkout continues into next week?
Now Your Side investigative reporter Valerie Cavazos looks into the legal scope of the walkout. Val.
Now, as everybody has mentioned, the teacher walkout is unprecedented. Teachers have entered uncharted legal waters and appear to be taking this days at a time. So far, we know the walkout is at least 2 days. But what happens when it reaches day 3, day 4, and beyond? Could teachers face legal consequences like losing their teaching certificates or jobs? I spoke to labor attorney Steve Pertel. He says the walkout itself is not illegal. It's not really a strike. There are no picket lines preventing teachers from entering schools. The Red for Ed movement, the teachers, gave the districts fair warning, so they are not abandoning their classrooms, which in that case would be against state law. But in this case,
here's the reality. The reality is taking punitive action, even so much as a letter of censure against a particular individual teacher, is impractical. because the movement is too large. How do you then, in a right-to-work state, enforce what are essentially going to have to be case by case by case, individual situations to show that their activities were somehow outside of the boundaries? And that's very difficult.
Difficult for districts. Portell says administrators will have to tread very carefully if they choose to discipline individual teachers during or after the walkout. So legally, he says, there's really not much preventing a long-term walkout. Back to you.
Val, thank you. More than a dozen school districts closed today, and tomorrow some of those districts have already decided to close their doors again. You can see a list of those districts right there on your screen. You can go to KGUN9.com to stay updated with all of the closures. Plus, we have a list of schools that are still offering food for children who don't have, who need the food, and the schools are providing that.
Aaron Christensen back with us today and going to talk about the hot temperatures, not here, but especially in Phoenix today.
Oh, yeah. In fact, Phoenix was close to 100 degrees. 97 is what they topped out at. We were at 95 here in Tucson, and quite frankly, those temps would have been even higher had we not had this extensive cloud cover across the southern portion of the state. Here's a live look outside now from Speedway and Kolb. We have that camera pointed toward the Catalinas. You can see still those overcast skies. Those overcast skies really won't do a whole lot to bring us any rain. They will help to keep our temperatures in control just a touch. We're now at 91 degrees at the airport. Clear skies being reported, or mostly sunny, I should say, and winds sustained at about 12 miles per hour. Now, we do have a chance for storms for parts of southern Arizona. We'll touch on that in just a bit. But you know, those Red for Ed supporters today had to end their protest just a little bit early because of the heat. Coming up after the break, we're going to tell you how businesses and organizations in the Phoenix area help to prevent the folks there from passing out due to the heat. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side at 5.
Continuing coverage on day one of the Arizona teacher walkouts. A lot of Tucson teachers did make their way up to Phoenix today to the state capitol.
And we noticed people were there with umbrellas. That's because at the hottest, it was about 97 degrees. 9 Your Side's Carlos Herrera joins us now from Phoenix. Carlos, how are people handling the heat? I know they had to wrap things up early.
Yeah, as you mentioned, umbrellas, lots of water and sunscreen. It was really hot out here earlier today, especially right after the march ended earlier. Now, again, as I mentioned, lots of preparations going into this. Of course, local organizations and businesses did their part to make sure that supporters and educators who participated today stayed safe. Despite it being possibly the hottest day of the year so far.
Not yet. It will be later on in July. We're okay right now.
It just proves how strong we actually are. We'll withstand our Arizona heat.
The heat not stopping anyone from showing their support.
The teachers, our educators, our brothers and sisters.
Feeling of solidarity with other teachers and our commitment to fighting for what our schools need and what we need is a beautiful thing.
Many local businesses and organizations helping out with the essentials for today's rally by providing sunscreen, shade, snacks, and H2O.
We've got truckloads of water here to help keep people hydrated. Got some shade here if people need to get out of the sun. So we'll do our best to try and keep everybody from going down in the heat.
Truckloads of water cases and ice chests being set up along the march route and all around the state capitol.
We donated 11,000 bottles of water. It's one of the hottest days of the year, so we want to make sure everybody stays hydrated and stays healthy today. That's as much as we can fit in our truck. We got 6 pallets of water. That's all we can fit in our truck, but we want to make sure we're supporting the teachers and make sure everybody stays healthy.
To help prove that safety comes first, but that the sun won't be an excuse.
The sun's not going to stop any union member that believes in what they're doing, and these teachers believe in what they're doing, and we believe in them.
Yeah, the good news is that no heat-related illnesses or injuries have been reported at this time. Now, we also caught up with teachers who traveled from Tucson earlier today. We'll hear about what they have to say coming up at 6 p.m. For now, Pat, Stella, we're sending it back over to you.
Carlos, thank you. Hot there, hot here. hot overall.
Oh, absolutely. Although Phoenix has already hit 100 degrees this year, they didn't quite make it there today, but what's a couple of degrees difference, right?
It feels hot.
It's going to be just a touch cooler as we head into the weekend. That's coming up after the break.
Aaron, thank you. Plus, why some people say they support the Red for Ed movement, but they say the walkout is not justified. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
In the midst of this teacher walkout, parents are left wondering what to do with their kids.
Yeah, they can't take them to school, but here's one option. Victory Worship Center is offering free day camp for students K through 6th grade. It's near Flowing Wells. You have to register ahead of time. They can take up to 1,100 kids. The children's pastor says they're doing this for the kids.
Teachers are important, families are important, kids are important, and we feel if we can be of a support to the kids, then we would be able to do that.
Drop-off is at 7:30 each morning, pick-up at 5 p.m. There is a list of other free options on our website, kgun9.com.
Meanwhile, in Vail, teachers from Desert Willow donated food and water for students at Purple Heart Park. They say their school did have enough teachers to stay open, but it wasn't up to them. That's why they decided to do what they can for the kids. One man from the PTA says the entire Red for Ed movement was rushed.
I support teachers getting more funding and being able to properly perform their duties in the classroom. Again, the walkout really became a lockout once teachers were told they weren't welcome to teach.
Despite this, Mark Stevens says sacrifices do have to be made for the long-term benefit of the state.
And one of our producers asked viewers on Twitter, what do you think about the teacher walkout? And here is what some of you had to say. Now, Brian says he supports the movement, but doesn't think the walkout is setting a strong example for kids. In response to that, Miguel disagrees. He says the walkout is actually a good example to students. It shows you have the right to protest and to speak up. He says, furthermore, the Red for Ed movement is also in benefit of the students. And we want to hear from you. Join the conversation on any of our social media platforms.
Now, KGUN 9 on your side. First warning weather brought to you by Casino del Sol, the soul of Tucson.
High temperatures across southern Arizona running a good 5 to 10 degrees above normal. We did mention it earlier. Bears repeating. Phoenix dangerously close to the triple-digit mark there today with 97, and all those folks outdoors for that Red for Ed movement. 98 in Gila Bend, 91 Casa Grande, Tucson. We did make it to 95, 93 in Safford, 91 in the Wilcox area. Now, our temperatures would have been even warmer had we not had that veil of cloud cover over us today. Started off with mostly clear skies, but then those clouds started to build pretty quickly. In fact, here's another live look for you, kind of looking off toward the Catalinas and the Rincons here just to the east. And we still have that extensive cloud cover. 91 degrees is what we have to work with now. Humidity at 9%, still in the single digits, but there is an indication we have a little bit more moisture in that holding tank, that water tower over our heads. Right now, wind speeds at 12 miles per hour. The wind at this point not terribly strong, not terribly impressive, but as we head through the next 24 to 48 hours, we're going to notice that changing quite a bit. In fact, our wind futurecast is advertising late tomorrow morning that the wind is going to start to pick up, especially east of Tucson. You can see anywhere from 13 to just about 20 mile per hour wind speeds, and kind of pushing in from the east. 10 mile per hour winds over Tucson at that time. We would expect some gusts topping out close to 30, perhaps 35 miles per hour. But this wind is going to be a factor for us over the next couple of days. In fact, you'll see a lot of those breezy and windy icons here in our 7-day forecast. Our clouds help to suppress the wind somewhat, but not enough really to raise our concerns, of course, for wildfires here as we head through the next couple of days. We've got the heat. We still have very dry air despite that cloud cover. And of course, we've got the wind starting to pick up. So our clouds that we're seeing today actually coming in from a tropical source. Keep in mind, we do have an area of low pressure just off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. That is the one that will move through and kind of bring us a chance for storms. We'll talk about exactly where we're expecting that and when in just a bit. That is eventually going to move in, but here's that tropical fetch of moisture. Not necessarily terribly strong here coming from the Hawaii area, but still, if it has that tropical feel to it, there's a good reason why. This is, in fact, tropical moisture. And those clouds staying with us overnight will keep us on the warm side. 60 degrees for an overnight low in Tucson. anywhere from 5 to 10 mile per hour winds overnight. So that's not a huge factor, but come tomorrow, we're talking gusts up to 35 miles per hour. And of course, our heat will be back with 94 degrees in the Tucson area. You can plan your Friday. Sierra Vista starting off in the mid 50s, Oro Valley 6 a.m. 65, but Marana you will be at 64. Elsewhere, temperatures in the 80s across Cochise County. Sierra Vista at 84. 88 in Nogales, 96 in Marana, 92 though for 3 Points, 88 in Safford, 91 in Vail, as well as in Benson. And this weekend, if you're headed to the fair, keep in mind still kind of gusty and dusty there at the fairgrounds, but 93 for our Saturday, 90 on Sunday, so certainly a bit cooler from what we have been. But that chance for storms is mainly east of Tucson, so we're talking Greenlee, Graham, and Cochise counties tomorrow and Saturday. I'm expecting a lot more dry lightning, unfortunately, rather than wetting rains, and we don't have a chance for rain from those in the Tucson area. Pat, Stella.
Aaron, thank you. Police here in Tucson are searching for a missing man who was carjacked and then kidnapped.
What police have learned so far in their hunt for multiple suspects. You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
Coming up on KGUN 9 at 6, what two key lawmakers say about the likelihood of the governor's plan to boost teacher pay getting through the legislature. That's coming up all new at 6.
You're watching KGUN 9 on your side.
Tonight, a man is missing after police say he was carjacked and kidnapped.
Here's what we know from police so far. 66-year-old Timothy Abriola went missing last night. He was attacked by several people when leaving work at an AutoZone near 13th and Irvington. Police believe Abriola was seriously injured. If you have any information, you're asked to call 88 Crime.
And a woman who tried to stab a Tucson fire captain last October was sentenced to probation today. Ebony Herndon got her 3-year probation and a 60-day jail sentence after pleading guilty to aggravated assault and attempted aggravated assault on a firefighter. A firefighter was at her apartment near 29th and Columbus because it was on fire. Herndon was not wearing any clothes, and police say she had burned her cat on the stove.
Comedian Bill Cosby found guilty today on all 3 counts of drugging and sexually assaulting a woman back in 2004. After the verdict, the district attorney asked the judge for Cosby's bail to be revoked. Cosby started yelling and using profanity. The judge then just warned Cosby to not leave home. He faces up to 30 years in prison.
And when we come back, one last look outside. Presents Arizona's opioid epidemic.
This week, a local surgeon explains her plan to fight addiction.
So traditionally, the idea was to give as many narcotics as patients need in order to have their pain controlled and then send them home with a large amount. But obviously, we've learned over time that this is not the best for the patients in the long haul.
9 on your side's Whitney Clark will share how the management program helps reduce pain and recover quickly after surgery. That's coming up tonight at 10.
It was hot during the day. How are we looking at night?
Well, it's still going to be on the warm side for overnight lows. We'll be at 60 degrees tonight, and then tomorrow just a degree cooler, 94 here in Tucson. But we do have 70s returning. Well, maybe one day. That's Wednesday of next week.
Take it,
Looking
Aaron.
a little bit better.
Right?
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you for joining us.
World News Tonight is next. We'll see you back here at 6.